So, hello everyone. I never know when to begin these with good morning or good afternoon because it's morning for us, but we don't know when you'll be viewing this. So,
Good,
as
whenever.
always, we're here to listen to the wisdom of Gavi, and I'm pinning him down on a subject this year. Not this year, this podcast, but it does relate to this time of year because what we've got right now is we've got the end of the school year coming up, and I work in education. Gavi's wife, his lovely wife, is an educator, an administrator, and very essential to the operation of her school.
You're in formal education. I'm in life education. How about that?
Exactly. And the other thing is that when you're listening to this, so many people have kids. And I was talking to a friend of mine today, who is a school counselor, and she had to tell one kid they had to go to summer school, another kid they weren't graduating. But the vast majority of her students who are seniors are thinking about this huge life change going to college in the next year. And then other students are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their summer. They're going to get a job, they're going to travel, they're going to go away to camp. Gavi has worked at summer camps for years as part of his youth work. And the amount of stress that everybody seems to be under at the end of the school year, not just in education, but in families, is pretty intense. I think you can talk to anybody in education, they'll talk about being kind of burnt out this time of year. But I think also when you talk about, families with little kids, they're looking at all of a sudden having those children home. And the bottom line is people will be moving from one routine to another. And we have to do that in our lives a lot. But how do we do that? How do we transition from one place in life to another, either temporarily or permanently? And this is the work you do, Gavi. This is the work
Yeah.
you do with people. So let everyone know.
It could be a very broad outline, or it can be just like you said, individual, summer school, college. I'll answer it as I always do with a question to answer a question to direct everything on. But anytime I have a client in my life coaching business, whatever it is, whether it's looking direction, whether it's marriage, whether it's trauma, whatever it is, I always start off after the initial getting to know each other. What do you want? And I know it sounds so simple, but yet reality that simple question helps chart the beginning of a journey. And why do I say that? Due to the fact that a lot of people come in with what they think is the issue. And reality is, went through conversation and through it really isn't. So I've learned through this is that what do you want? So let's take summer school. What do you want to achieve from summer school? What do you want to achieve for going to college? What do you want to achieve for this summer? Right? What do you want to achieve today? Like we had this conversation before going on air. Like, what do we want to talk about? Right?
Right.
It helps guide the conversation, but start the conversation. I start the chart because reality is like, as you know, once you have a conversation, sometimes it may lead to something else. But once you know who you are, you can rein it back into what is the most important thing. You
That's
know,
that whole Stephen Covey principle of beginning with the end in mind.
yeah,
But
it's so hard for a lot of people because as we had this discussion off air, like fear,
right,
right? People are afraid of things they don't know. So instinctively, the fear is stopping them from starting their journey. You know, like I'm afraid of not having a good time in school. I mean, in camp, so I don't want to go. But really, what you're really afraid about? Are you maybe afraid of you're not seeing these friends in a year and they
right.
may have changed or not gonna like me? Well, you just went for the last 5 years and you've kept in contact. So again, it comes down to honesty. Not honesty in regard to what would you like to achieve, and then let's try and figure out how to achieve it, right? My daughter's going off to college next year. She's graduating. And I mean, me being me, I've had these discussions for a year before. Like, start thinking about now what you want to achieve, or what is your goals, or like again, and we've talked this before, but I've told them, start writing questions now. It may change, but at least you have a map. This is where I'm aiming to, I'm aiming for. I may not get there, but at least I know what I'm aiming for. I think people are afraid of, you know, I'll give you an example. Just again, as you said, I worked in summer camps for over 30 years. And when I first started in summer camps, it was $5,000 a person for 8 weeks. And when I left after about, I don't know how many years, it was ridiculous. It was like, I think it was $12,000 or something, right? And I remember talking to new parents, and they were like, "Wow, that's so steep." I'm like, I've got two kids, that's 2,400, right? That's a lot of money. And I would stop them and go, "Okay, stop. First of all, let's just break it down. There is payment plans. That's number one. Number two, you're sending your kids away because why? Do you want the break? Do you want your kids to have a good time? You want to carry on? Whatever your reason is." And then I would break it down. Another one is just like, for 8 weeks. You've got 3 square meals a day. You have an entertainment every single day. In a schedule of a week, right? There is whatever the activities are. There's over 35, I think. What a kid does in a day, right? You won't even do in the whole summer. So you've got to get over that initial, right? Because reality is that yes, it is, but what is your ultimate goal? Not saying it's not tough because you can always do payment plans or whatever it was, but I was trying to explain to them that don't look at the cost at this moment in time, right? Because you probably spend more if you didn't tend to camp, whether you get in a road trip, whatever it is. What is your idea? What's your reason for sending your kid to camp, right? Forget about the knock-on effects, the rewards. He gets away from, the city and just becomes a kid, right? Which is very important, as you know, as an educator, just a child, be a child. Social skills, learning new skills. Your kid's going to come out healthier because you're running around as opposed to sitting inside. You know, so so I would say to them is that you're right. It's an initial whoa expense, but break it down and make it more digestible to what it is. So same thing
So
with
you're
the
really
summer
you're really
program.
talking about when you look at where you want to be, beginning with the end in mind.
Mhm.
You're talking about having that vision, that mission, that I'm going to be here, and
And it may
breaking down
change.
not only the benefits, but the steps to get there, right? That big goals need to be broken down into manageable steps. But the danger in that, and you and I have talked about that, is the danger in that is sometimes you get wrapped up in the steps. Like I tend to be fairly busy in my work life. Um, I have a couple of irons in the fire. And sometimes I'm so focused on the doing that I lose track of the being, of the why
Yes.
I'm doing this. And I always say that that's like the feeling of running to stay in place, right? And I think at this time of year in education and in parenting, there's a lot of running to stay in place, to push through to the end, to just get to the end of the school year, the end of the year when the kids are out of school or whatever, get to summer vacation, right? Maybe you're going on a cruise or something and you've been looking forward to this. And then you get there and all you've been doing is doing the work to get there and you kind of forget why you're going,
Yes.
right?
There's two things to this. First one, I totally agree with you. It's like, the ultimate chase for happiness. You never get there. You think you get it, and then you realize, really? Right? That's number one. So I would say to help you there, I use this. I've worked on this for years and years and years. That's why I'm going to say this. I'm not always successful, but we've had this discussion as well, and I do it to the people, is that most people, the expression stop and smell the flowers.
Right.
It's so hard for people, right? Is because they got to focus and that's what they're looking for, right? And they don't always appreciate the journey now. I do this every so often when I'm overwhelmed, I stop And I try to listen to what's around me just to appreciate, where I am right now. It
Right.
helps regulate, uh, you know, um, okay, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, stop. Wow, I hear the clock ticking. I can hear the bird ticking, right? And if you slow it down and then you suddenly get to the point of if you work upon it, you hear your heart's pumping. Oh, I'm alive. It's kind of like I'm simplifying this exercise, but in a way, when you work upon that, it suddenly gives you that's, what's the word? The balance, the equilibrium to achieve your goal, give you the confidence, the pit stop in a way to kind of move forward. Um, but it's very hard for some people. Most people are afraid of themselves. They don't want to know themselves. They don't want to know that, the more you get to know yourself, you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, right?
Right.
For some people, it's torture. I'd rather be so busy, 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 busy. I don't want to hear, the Gavi inside me saying, you know what, you're a terrible guy because X and Y. But no, actually, you're a great guy. You're amazing. Right? It's easier to kind of like be focused so fast and so busy and get so many things to distract yourself that either it helps you get there, but you don't appreciate your growth and what it is, or you get there and you're even more um not confused is the wrong word, more harried.
Right.
Because you
I
get
think
there, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. And I'm meant to appreciate this, you know. I've saved up for this trip for such a long time and I had all these things and I get there and I'm like, I just want to sleep.
mm,
Like you kind of like it's very hard. It is very hard. And it's a good point you brought up. Like now, as don't just wait till school finishes to have a goal, to have a idea, have a direction. Again, we don't know what tomorrow may bring. You know, what we hope, would be it doesn't always turn out. There are you go to sleep and there are people who didn't get up the next morning, right? And there are those people who went to bed, and then the stock market died and they got nothing. So, you know, it's the cruelty and irony, but the beauty of life, right? And sometimes we get overwhelmed by that, and therefore we just judge everything. Well, life is terrible because it doesn't seem to me. But no, well, stop. You know,
so. What I think is interesting too, and I think this is for me as we talk about this, and maybe this is the takeaway for a listener. I think if you ask everybody, do you have a goal, right? Are you on a mission? Do you have someplace you want to be? They'll say yes. I think if you ask them what is that, they'll have a harder time telling you. And I think if you ask them, when was the last time you really thought about it, right? It might be a while.
hey, well, also I'll tell you another exercise I use a lot with people, not just in my practice, but in people. If you believe in something, right, or I say to people, can you explain to me as a layman either what you do, right, if that's what you believe in, or what you hope to achieve, what you believe in simple English, right? Then you know that person knows what it is. I'll give you an example. Why do you want to be a teacher? Right? So people will give different reasons, right? But people ask me why do I want to be a teacher, and I'd say I want to inspire people, right? That's my modum apparatum, right? I want to inspire people to be better. That's it. How we get there, that's the next level. So if you ask me again, why do I do what I do? I enjoy it because my goal is to inspire people to be better. Simple. I'm trying to just to uh, strengthen what you said. Most people don't know how to answer in a simple sentence what they believe, what they love, what they would like to do in a simple sentence. The more complicated it is, it's not always, but it's many of the time, you really don't know why you want to do this, or you think you know what it is, and you think it make you happy, but reality is that we started off this conversation. that most people come in with, this is what I want. But as you come through conversations and honesty and integrity and safety, you realize that really what you think you wanted, it, it wasn't what you really wanted.
So I think we're going to send our listeners off from this podcast with three things to do. The first thing you should do, number one, is you should stop, you should breathe, you should get down to hearing your heartbeat. You should center and you should be in that moment of being and not doing. And then you should think about what your goal, your mission, your vision, whatever you want to call that is, right? Examine it. Has it changed? Have you changed? Right? And then you should appreciate where you are and where you're going. And you should do that being able to explain in simple language your goal and where you are, right? Not I'm on step 6 of my 46 step plan or whatever, but so stop and center, recognize your goal and where you are, and be able to explain that in simple language. And actually, I'm going to do that today. I'm traveling and I think that's what I might do to center myself on the flight. So this is me committing to practice what Gavi gives out. It's not just words. It's going to be applied, and I'm going to do it. And we look forward to hearing from anybody that does it. We had a little glitch with the Facebook, but it's back up, and you will start seeing our inspirational quotes again soon. And if you have a chance to tell us what you did with these three steps, feel free to post on the Tap Out page, Facebook.
Yes.
Take us
That's
home, Gavi. Leave us with something to get us going through the week.
God bless, safe travels, and till next time.
Awesome. Bye, all.